So every once in a while, whenever I get a customer vehicle in my shop, if it's interesting enough, I will actually make it into a YouTube video. And that's what we're gonna be working on today. This is a 1983 four-door Cherokee. So I haven't seen many of these in person, but this is not a Wagoneer, four-door Cherokee. And I'll show you. See, Cherokee. And this thing is awesome. This is probably the nicest full-size Jeep that I've ever had in my shop. This is nicer than most vehicles straight out of the showroom floor. Look at that. Man, and it smells good too. Look at this interior. And it has a headliner. And it cranks up, which is better than half of the full-size Jeeps that I have. So this is the front end right here. And if you hear any background noise, there's a tractor plowing the field way over there. I don't know if you can see it. So if you hear tractor noises, that's what it is. But this thing is super cool. And he actually uses it. So he actually took it to Uwharrie National Forest a couple of weekends ago and wheeled all over. So this thing gets daily driven, it gets used. This thing does it all. So it looks like it has maybe a 4-inch lift on it. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe like a 3 or 4-inch lift. It's got some 35s on it, looks like some Mickey Thompson wheels. This thing is like a classic look to me, and I really dig it. Yeah, it's Mickey Thompson's. I see the center caps right there. But man, this thing is awesome all the way around. The interior and everything. But unfortunately, like most full-size Jeeps, it's got a couple of issues. But it's nothing major. It's just something that he just didn't feel comfortable taking on himself. So he reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in doing it. And I was like, sure, you know, this is kind of what we do here. So let me show you what this thing has going on. I gotta grab my flashlight first. But the reason I'm making this video is because I've seen this issue with some full-size Jeeps in the past, and I feel like it just needs to be addressed and it needs to be fixed. Let me show you. All right, so if you look, I'm gonna get you a better view eventually, but if you look right here, that is a hole in the frame. That is not good. And you can see right there that it's actually wore down the frame right there. So this frame is extremely weakened in that section. And this other side has it, but just not, it's just not as bad. I left my flashlight, crap. So this is the driver's side. It's not as bad, but it's getting there. But you can see where my hand is. It's pretty bad. That's pretty thin wall right there. And you definitely don't want any thin wall on a frame, especially on one of these full-size Jeeps. But what caused that is that collar right there, that leaf spring collar, and right there. And so what happens is, you know, sometimes people move them too forward after they install a lift, and it actually rubs holes in the frame. You know, whoever installed that lift probably just didn't think about it because it wasn't anywhere near the frame. But every time you take it off-roading, every time you hit a big bump and this rear suspension gets compressed, the head of that bolt or the end of that bolt is going to be rubbing up against the frame, and metal on metal, eventually something's going to give. And unfortunately, that's what happened with this Jeep, and the frame ended up giving away. Fast forward a couple of years of it grinding on that frame, and it's in the 6 Feet Under Fab shop, ready to get fixed. But to be honest with you, there's two ways of fixing this frame. The first way would be the easy way, and that would just be grind everything down smooth, weld it really good, and then grind it back down, make sure it's all, you know, nice and pretty and smooth. Sorry about the birds, they're like attacking each other out there. But the second way, and which is the way that I'm going to be fixing it, is I'm actually going to cut a section of that frame out and plate it, and then put a plate on the back side of it to make sure that it's nice and strong. As nice as this Jeep is, I don't want to just heat that frame super hot right there where it's thin and risk blowing through the frame. This is a nice Jeep and it's a customer's Jeep, so I want to do it right. And you may give me some slack in the comments saying, oh, you know, you're overdoing it, this, that, and the other. Well, I like to overdo things. That's just how I function, I guess. And to be 100% honest, if this Jeep was mine, this is how I would do it. If it was one of like my trail rigs or like dead plates or something like that, I would just weld it and put a fish plate over it, and then I just wouldn't ever worry about it ever again. But like I said, because this is a customer's and this thing is in such good condition, I want to do this 100% correct. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get this thing up in the air, because I'm going to have to take that gas tank out. If you've ever worked on one of these full-size Jeeps, that gas tank is huge and it pretty much gets in the way of everything up underneath the Jeep. So I'm going to get this thing up on the lift and probably pull the rear tires off, and then kind of show you what I've got going on up under there once I get some lights on. Once I get some lights and stuff shining on the frame. I'm just gonna hold the camera so Patrick has to do all this. Look, you see the spots? Look, you can see the dirt spots from the Mickey Thompson wheels.
These things are so light compared.
I bet. They're light probably compared to those or something like that. So with the tire off, you can see a little bit better the issue. So there is the massive gash in the frame, and then there's a fresh gash right there. So I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do to prevent that from happening here. So it's pretty bad. Like that's a complete hole right there. That's a hole in the frame. And then this is like super thin right there. Yeah, got a lot of work ahead of us. So I don't know if y'all can tell on camera, but the frame is actually starting to crack. It's starting to get stress cracks in it.
Me too.
You're getting stress cracks too. I don't think we can show your stress cracks on camera. We're going to take this rear drive shaft out because we have to drop this massive gas tank in order to get to this side right here. I want to go ahead and get the worst side done. I want to go ahead and get this side done first, and we'll go ahead and get this gas tank out. But before we do that, I think we're going to have to take that drive shaft out. So now I'm just taking out this drive shaft, and one of the looks like one of the yoke bolts is stripped. So that looks like it's gonna be fun to get out. Oh man, I might have to heat it up and put some vice grips on it or something like that. Gosh. So I ended up having to cut off that other bolt. I did not want to, but it would not come out either way. So now I've just got to get, you know, a new strap kit for the rear, which is, you know, they're fairly inexpensive, but I still don't like to cut stuff. But it'll get all brand new bolts and new straps, and might put some new U-joints in here while I'm at it, because they're looking a little tired as well. So now I'm going to get the front part of this drive shaft out and get it completely out of the way. So now we're going to work on getting this gas tank skid down, because I think we have to drop the skid and then we can drop the whole tank, or it may just all come down together. So we kind of got to do some looking into that, but we're going to basically prepare for the gas tank to come down while we're taking this skid off and just kind of see what we got going on. Anyway, we're going to get down, we're going to get working on trying to get this gas tank out.
Oh, I got it.
I said we were going to prepare, but there's the problem. There's a rock under there. That's definitely a Uwari rock right there.
Ain't got no ice in it.
Yeah. see, I have the gas tank out on the floor away from the vehicle because I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting and grinding and welding. Since I'm going to be cutting this frame, I don't want to just start cutting it without supporting it in the rear, because if you start cutting on this frame and then the tail end of this is like hanging, then a lot of weight, that frame actually could bend a little bit. It's not likely, but it could happen. So what I did was I supported the frame with this jack right here, and I'm going to be putting a straight edge. I'm going to be putting a straight edge somewhere on this frame, and I'm going to mark it, and I'm just going to make sure that it's not going to move, because I do not want this thing to be crab walking or anything going down the road. So they're C-channel past the cross member, and so all this is just C-channel all through here. So if you cut a big hole right here, there's not a lot holding that frame on the tail end. The body will help hold it, but still, I just don't like the thought of that. I'm gonna put some jacks, and then I'm gonna put a couple of things and take some measurements just to make sure that this frame doesn't move after I start making those cuts. This leaf spring is in the way, and I want it to be out of the way. So what I plan on doing is I'm gonna take my transmission jack, and I'm probably gonna put it somewhere underneath this axle tube right there and support it. And then I'm gonna actually take this bolt out and drop this leaf spring down as much as I can. So I have the axle supported right here, and now I'm going to take this off. I did go ahead and crack it loose. That was easy. This stuff is awesome. And I realize this isn't like a factory bolt, and somebody probably just put it in there not that long ago, but this stuff smells good too. Alright. Sweet. That is perfect. So you can see right here I have ample space to do all my cuts and welds and grinding. That's good. I'm going to actually cut this out and replace it with a piece of metal. So this is pretty much the same thickness as the frame. So I'm going to just cut out a section right here, right there, and then I'm gonna weld it all up, grind it down smooth. So right here it just looks factory, and then on the back side I'm probably gonna put a fish plate on the back. So this is what I'm talking about by a fish plate. This actually will go on the back side of this frame, probably about like that. So that way, look at all that welding surface and how much strength I can introduce to this frame at this very critical point right here. So you think about it, anywhere near a leaf spring, there's a lot of stress added to this frame. And if you look, there's a super thin piece of metal right here. So this is like recipe for disaster, but between cutting that out, replacing it with the same gauge thickness metal, and then welding this on the back, where I can slowly weld all the way around in here, all the way around. And I say slowly weld because you don't want to heat this up too much, because then the metal will prematurely fail. Like if you heat this metal up super hot, it's either going to warp it or it's going to weaken it. So this is one of those things where you weld a little bit right here, weld a little bit right there, and just kind of jump around, and just don't let that frame get so hot. There's really no art to it, it's just science at this point. So I'm just gonna put this up here, just like that, and I'm just gonna mark right there, curve that, and then I'll just cut this to fit that. And so what I'm gonna do is actually, so you see where I marked it, I'm actually gonna cut on the inside of the line, so that way this doesn't have like a huge gap that I have to fill in with weld. I do want a little bit of gap, that way I can get some good penetration. And also, before you start cutting anything frame-wise, check the back side of the frame, make sure there's not any wires or anything like that. And especially make sure there's not any fuel lines. hole right here, and I had to go and just sand out the inside just a little bit because I did have to use the plasma cutter on this corner right here, just because this leaf spring was a little bit in the way. But it was fine. I just used the plasma cutter and just cut it, and then I came back with my 1/2-inch belt sander, and that really like saved the day right here. And then what I did was I came back and put a bevel all the way around so that, you know, I can fill that in. I can make a valley on my plate, and I can make a valley on this frame, and then fill that valley in with weld. So here is my piece of metal. I did taper in the corners, and I haven't put a bevel on it yet, but I'm going to. But it took me a couple of tries to get this correct, but I think I about got it. I'm gonna put this magnet on it so that way it doesn't try to fall through. But check this out. I'll kind of zoom y'all in a little bit, that way y'all can kind of see. My camera's being kind of weird on focus. I need to go along and put a taper all the way around this so it just creates a valley that I can fill in with weld. And then I'll probably clean this up one last time. Then we'll be ready to tack this on. As you can see, I have this all welded up. I started just tack welding it all the way around, and that was really just keeping the metal cool. So I'm gonna fully weld it on the back side. The inside, that's where all the structure is gonna be reintroduced back to this frame. Alright, so here it is all sanded down. I think I need to do a little bit more sanding, but I'm just trying to look at it from all angles. But I don't think it looks bad at all. That is the back side of what I welded last night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up really good, and then I'm going to add this fish plate right here. Probably about like that. I'm going to spray this with a weldable spray paint, that way it doesn't rust or anything behind this. So I don't want any raw metal. So I have some gray primer up there that's weldable, and I also have this painted with, oh, you can't see it. I also have this painted. Sorry, the lighting is terrible. So now I can go ahead and tack this on. Let me show you what I got going on the passenger side. I did have to drop the exhaust right here. Luckily, it had a flange that luckily came undone. And then I brought the leaf spring down just a little bit. And as you can see right here, this one's in more rough shape than the driver's side. But we're still going to pretty much do the same method as we did over there on this side. Probably have to cut a little bit further down, but I can fix all that, no problem. And then on the back side, we'll do a fish plate and get this thing knocked out. So, all right, so I have been chomping away at getting this passenger side done. But you can see right there, I've still got a little more sanding to do. The bad metal is gone and the good metal is in. It is a few days later, and let me show you what I got going on. So the reason it's a few days later is because I've been putting some different paints and stuff on this frame. So as you can see, this is the passenger side right here. and I've got everything fixed, ready to go. So what I did was I painted it with some weldable primer, and then I came back with a truck bed liner, like a coating like that, to just kind of make it blend in, because to me it was like smooth metal and then it was just kind of rough throughout, because these frames, they have some sort of coating all over them, and so I kind of wanted to replicate that. So what I ended up doing was hitting it with the truck bed liner, and then I came back with some black paint just to make it all look factory. I think it looks pretty good. So if you can see that in there, I know it's kind of difficult to see, but we got the fish plates on there, and so now we're basically done. So now me and the mad scientist over here have to put the gas tank in and put the drive shaft back in, and this thing will be ready to return to the owner. The drive shaft right there, I ended up putting some new U-joints, and now we have to get this gas tank back in. Look, Team Grand Wagoneer. Sweet. All right, I'm not paying you to sit around. Let's get to work. I'm not paying him at all, but let's get to work. All right, so just pick the gas tank up and put it on there. You dumb motherfucker. It's hard finding good help nowadays. Well, it's a little lighter. Yeah. All right, so I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna end up not spilling any more gas and put it on. Ain't got no gas in it. It's got about a gallon less now. But we're gonna put it on the transmission jack and raise it back up into place. I'm not gonna bore y'all with that, so I'll let you know whenever we get it in. All right, so I have a shop update. The gas tank is finally in. That thing is so giant to get in here, and there is little to no room on underneath here for this giant gas tank, but it fits. So you can see here where this drive shaft has actually contacted this gas tank before. So what I did was I tried to shift it over as far as I could. It does have adjustments on these bolts right there, so I just had to push it over, but that is crazy. Look how close that is. So yeah, so now all I have to do is lower it down and make sure it fires up. So I did one final nut and bolt check just to make sure that everything was good and tight before the customer comes and picks the Jeep up, but I need to make sure that this thing fires and starts up and everything like it should be, because anytime you take a gas tank out, there's a chance that you might have got something wrong or missed something or anything like that. So I'm gonna hop in and try to fire this thing up for the first time. That thing starts up so good. Holy crap. I love this Jeep. I really want it. So now I'm probably gonna take this thing on a little road test just to make sure that it's accepting throttle and everything like it should, and it's not missing, sputtering. I make sure I got all my vent lines correct, because he's gonna be driving this about an hour and a half away from my shop, and I don't want to just blindly send him on his way without me at least test driving it first. So let's hop in. So I drove the Jeep to the gas station because I wanted to make sure that once I started putting gas in it, there wasn't any leaks or anything like that. It doesn't look like there's any leaks, so that's good. But always after you put a gas tank in, just put some gas in it just to make sure that the filler hoses or anything isn't leaking. All right, guys, that's probably going to do it for this video. I really appreciate y'all watching me fix the frame on this full-size Jeep Cherokee right here. But if you don't mind, hit that like button and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any further content that I do in my shop. I do a lot of stuff with the full-size Jeeps. I do a lot of stuff with Wranglers, TJs, XJs, LJs, and a lot of other vehicles like that. So if you're into that type of stuff, please subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And anyway, thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all next time. I actually stayed out here pretty late. Probably about 2 o'clock in the morning.